Thanks, Jerry, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for the opportunity to talk to you about the Azure story. 12 months ago, when we were standing up on this stage, Azure Minerals was 100% focused on our assets, exploring projects in Mexico. We had silver and gold resources and a small-scale silver, lead, zinc mine that was operating on a provisional basis. Once COVID came along, we needed to make a decision, and we just elected to pivot back from Mexico back into Australia. And we were fortunate enough to be able to acquire some projects from the legendary explorer Mark Creasy, which were announced in July of last year. And since that period, we've been totally focused on exploring these Australian projects, and while we've put our Mexican assets onto care and maintenance. The photograph on the screen there is the recent drilling that we're carrying out on the Andover nickel copper project. And as you can see there, the access into the area looks good, topography is fine. There's very little soil cover. Most of the area is covered by outcrop. So I know Ian was talking about shallow cover in the previous presentation, but we've got no cover in this area, which is an absolute blessing. Just on a corporate snapshot, we've got three major shareholders, with our largest shareholder, Deutsche Balaton, holding 18%, the Creasy Group with 15%, and Teck Resources, the Canadian major mining company, with just under 10%. With a market cap at the moment of about $123 million, and we've got about $37 million in the bank. So we're really well cashed up at the moment, no debt, and we're full steam ahead onto the projects up in the Pilbara. So the projects we acquired from Creasy, then there are four of them, are made up of one nickel project, which is the Andover Project, and three gold projects, which are the Turner River, Meanthena and Coongan projects. The deal that we did with the Creasy Group was that we would acquire direct interests in these projects in the form of a joint venture interest. So for the Andover Nickel and Copper project, it's 60% Azure and 40% Creasy. And for the other three gold projects, it's 70% Azure and 30% Creasy. We are operators and managers of all four of those projects, and the Creasy Group are free carried through to the decision to mine. In addition to that, we acquired a project called the Barton Gold Project, which is located near Kukaini in the eastern goldfields of Western Australia, and that's 100% owned by Azure. But the focus for us at the moment is what's going on in the Pilbara. And this is an absolute classic area to explore in. You know, if we talk about tier one mining and exploration jurisdictions in the world, it doesn't come any better than operating in the Pilbara. The Andover Project is located in the Western Pilbara, just to the south of the town of Roebourne. It's about 70 square kilometres, and we've made two good nickel and copper sulphide discoveries on the property. Turner River is 450 square kilometres, two exploration licence applications, which are located just to the south of Port Hedland and immediately north of De Grey's Malina Gold Project and their recent and very impressive Hemi gold discovery. And the Coongan and Meanthena are two grassroots exploration gold projects located in the eastern Pilbara, which at the moment we're just doing a minor amount of work on, where our focus is very much on Andover. So Andover is in a very privileged position. This 70 square kilometre project is located just south of Roebourne by about 3 or 4 kilometres. So it's a two-hour flight from Perth to Karratha. It's a half-hour drive along the Northwest Highway to get onto site. So from a logistics point of view, from an access point of view, it doesn't get any better than that. So there's scheme water, there's power, there's cell phone coverage throughout the tenement area as well. Everything you could possibly want for an exploration and mining project is locally available within probably half an hour's drive of the project. The project itself, Andover, has been owned and looked after by the Creasy Group since the mid-2000s. And in 2008, he carried out a VTEM survey, an airborne EM survey, that covered most of the current project area, and you can see that up there at the moment. What's in red and the white sections, that's the area of greatest conductivity, electrical conductivity, indicating the potential for buried sulphide mineralisation. Also cross-cutting the area, just to add an extra challenge, is the water pipeline that runs from the Harding Dam up to Roebourne, and a power line that runs from west to east across there. So that just adds to the challenge, because they are also obviously electrically conductive bodies. But as you can see, there's a lot of the red and white anomalism that's outside of those two pieces of infrastructure, and those are the areas where we have focused. So in 2020, having gained access to the project in August of that last year, we commenced our fixed loop surface electromagnetic surveying, and we've identified 10 targets on the property which indicate or suggest or are modelled as bedrock-hosted sulphide accumulations, which represent as EM conductors. And you can see those there outlined in either orange or red squares, with the red being the high priority targets and the orange being a second order priority. The two areas where we've really focused our attention on are the conductors known as Vc7 and Vc23 in the south and southwestern part of the property. Both of these projects were areas where the Creasy Group carried out a small amount of RC drilling in 2018, and they intersected a small amount of nickel and copper sulphide mineralisation in both locations. So with the coincidence of having strong electromagnetic conductors, plus the drill intercepts that the Creasy Group had managed, plus some outcropping nickel and copper rich gossans, they were the two areas that we really focused straight in on, and it's where we've been carrying out our work. But in addition to that, there's numerous other electromagnetic conductors throughout the project, and all of them are just waiting there to be drilled. They've never been drill tested, so there's a lot of opportunity on the property for finding or bedrock hosted sulphide mineralisation and potentially nickel and copper rich mineralisation. Now, the Vc7 Conductor, located in the southwest corner of the project area, is an area where we went straight in there and we implemented a surface fixed loop electromagnetic survey using 4 large 600 metre by 600 metre loops, which are shown there in purple. And they identified a very strong and consistent electromagnetic conductor that extends from east to west for over 1,000 metres, in effect about 1,050 metres. And on the very right-hand side, the very most eastern part of that's where the Creasy Group carried out 2 RC drill holes, both of which hit minor amounts of nickel and copper sulphide mineralisation, very shallow to surface, very close to surface. So that's where we started our drilling. We started on the eastern end, and then we extended it out further to the west. To date, we've completed 10 holes for 4,200 metres of diamond drilling, and every one of those holes has intersected nickel and copper sulphide mineralisation. One of the holes has drilled over the top of the electromagnetic conductor and only intersected minor mineralisation, but the other 9 all went through the modelled locations of the EM conductors, and all 9 of those hit significant quantities of massive, semi-massive and other styles of nickel and copper sulphide mineralisation. So to date, we've tested the eastern 200 metre strike length of that Vc7 conductor. There's at least another 800 metres further to the west for us to test, and we are expanding our drilling out along strike to the west as we go. And the drilling is continuing, and at this stage we consider this to be, we've identified the body, we have a great understanding of the shape and the potential size of the body, so the diamond drilling we're doing now is with the intention of being able to produce a mineral resource at the completion of the drilling program. And importantly, where we have drilled into electromagnetic conductors, we have hit nickel and copper sulphide mineralisation. It is actually a 100% hit rate. Drill a conductor, hit nickel and copper sulphides. When you look at the cross-section, and I just dropped back one, the cross-section here is shown from north to south through there. We're looking at 4 holes that we've completed to date, 4 holes numbers 4, 5, 6 and 15. All 4 of those holes have hit good quality nickel and copper sulphide mineralisation, varying between massive, semi-massive matrix and heavily disseminated, and they all return very good intersections of nickel and copper grades. And there's excellent continuity of that mineralisation from top to bottom. So we're looking from the upper part, which would be in about this area, through to where we can, at the bottom, we're looking at about a 200 metres down dip extent of that sulphide mineralisation. And we know it extends further to at depth, and we know it extends a bit further up because we've done downhole electromagnetic surveys, and they quite clearly show that that conductor body does continue up dip above hole 5 and down dip below hole 15. So at this stage, very much open at depth, and the depth potential there is untapped at this stage. And there's a final hole there which is in planning at the moment and should be completed within the next couple of weeks. So we'll be continuing to drill test both down dip and along strike to get to the stage where we'll be able to publish a mineral resource. These are the drill intersections, the actual assays that we have announced to date. We've announced results for the first 7 holes, all of which are drilled on the Vc7 Conductor. The overall mineralised intercept is on the left-hand column there. So we have an envelope of mineralisation that varies between about 10 to 20 metres wide, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a lot more, of mineralisation containing all sorts of massive, semi-massive style of nickel copper sulfides, but also some wall rock in places as well. The grade is varying between the sort of 1 to nearly 2% range of nickel and around about 0.2 to 0.5% copper in that overall mineralised envelope. And on the right-hand side, the column there shows within each of those mineralised envelopes, we are getting a zone of high-grade, massive and semi-massive nickel copper sulfides. And the intercept width of those is going to be between about 4 and 8 metres wide, and the grade is going to be between 2 and 3% nickel and around about 0.4 to 0.8% copper. So there's certainly very good grades and good widths of the mineralisation, particularly on this section, on that depth section as well. Then this is a couple of photographs of the mineralisation. On the left-hand side, we've got hole number 6, where that particular piece of core returned as massive sulfides. It returned 3.7% nickel and 0.2% copper, and that's fairly typical of what you see in the massive nickel sulfides. The middle photograph from AND4, it's around about 2.6% nickel as well. Once again, you can see there's a little bit more wall rock in it, so the grade's a little bit lower. And then on the right-hand side, hole 3, a bit over 4% nickel in there. And interestingly enough, that's a higher grade nickel because the actual tenor of the mineralisation is higher. So there's more pentlandite, or the nickel sulfide style of mineralisation, in there amongst the other minerals. So really good looking material, and it's very obvious when you see it as it comes out of the drill hole. The next target we started drilling was Vc23, and this is one where the Creasy Group put 2 RC holes into it in 2018. One hole out here hit 2 metres of 2% nickel, and another hole here was drilled at the wrong angle and didn't test the main target that it was supposed to be going for. So this is a brand new, or sort of not brand new, a different target from the one we talked about earlier, Vc7. So Vc23 is about 3 kilometres away. We've went in there on the back of the initial discovery by the Creasy Group. We've been doing a lot more drilling. We've drilled 8 reconnaissance diamond drill holes into the area at the moment, and we've announced visual results on 7 of those, and all 7 have hit good looking nickel and copper sulfide mineralisation. And in addition to that, we're finding new zones which were unidentified previously. So in effect, this particular area could be classified as a new discovery. The mineralisation is very flat lying. It's very shallow. All these holes are 100, maybe 120 metres deep, and the mineralisation comes to within 4 metres of surface. The drilling on that one has just been put to one side at the moment, and we're just following up with some more geophysics to identify further targets, and then the rigs will be mobilised back into there. But in addition to that, we've got the regional exploration program in the rest of the Andover Project. There's multiple targets up there. We've done fixed loop surveying, which has confirmed that the anomalies are hosted within the bedrock. They're not due to salt water or overburden or black shales or different sorts of sulfides. It actually is sulfide mineralisation bedrock hosted. We've got 2 new targets that we're very keen to start drilling as soon as possible, and they're shown there in the yellow circles. Those are waiting on heritage approvals from the local traditional owners, and we hope to have that done in the next couple of months. So before the middle of the year, we'll be drilling on those. And if that scenario goes of EM conductor equals nickel and copper sulfides, if it was to continue, and that's a big caveat, then we certainly have a lot more exciting targets to be drilling in the near future. And just very quickly, 2 final gold projects. The Turner River Gold Project, which is a 60-40 joint venture between Azure and Creasy, right next door to De Grey's Malina project. Never been drilled, never been explored. As soon as that's granted, we'll be on the ground doing geophysics and also some systematic bedrock sampling from the an early stage drilling program. And so where's some of the areas where we're going to be looking. And the Barton Gold Project, which is finally down by Kukaini, between Leonora and Kukaini, 200 square kilometres of land, mostly soil covered, never been drilled, except for in the far southwestern corner back in the 1990s. And if you look to what's you got to the west, you've got Genesis Minerals with over 1 million ounces of resources. You've got Saturn Minerals just to with their Apollo Hill deposit just to the east, which is nearly 1 million ounces of gold. There's a lot of very exciting targets then being drilled just to the south of our ground by Metallicity and some other companies as well. So there's a lot of really good opportunity here in an area that's never really been drilled. So just outlining there in the green circles, there's an opportunity there for us to go in there and do some systematic bedrock drilling, which we intend to do as soon as this tenement is granted, which is likely to be around the middle of the year. So Azure's got a lot going for it at the moment. It's a really busy time. We're well cashed up. We've got some great projects, nickel and copper projects, where we've got 3 rigs drilling, and with the interesting and fascinating gold projects, which we've yet to actually set foot on. So that's a lot happening for the company, and I thank you very much.